Hey everyone, I'm Sinai, your 4-star guy, and today I'm here to give you guys some of my advice on how you can build your Razor optimally no matter how far in the game you are. I will give you tips on what stats to invest in on your Razor to maximize his damage and what the best artifacts and weapons are to do so. Let's start off by explaining what roles he can play on for our team. Well, to be honest, he really is only good as a main DPS. This is for a couple of reasons. He offers very little value when he's not active. His ult gets cancelled when switching and it remains on cooldown. He needs 80 energy to use his ult, and his ult doesn't get much value when you cut it short to switch out. If you want to have him switch into proc Electro on an enemy, there are other characters to do that, even Lisa, who can use her ult, switch out, and keep her ult on the field, not to mention Fischl. Point being, Razor is not built to switch in and get off the field. It would be a waste of team slot. Razor is great at dealing damage though. He has a strong normal attack combo, he gains physical damage as he ascends, and his ult amplifies his damage output and it can be used on cooldown. So, if we are going to be using Razor to be our main damage dealer, we want to equip him with weapons and artifacts that solely boost his damage output. Keep in mind, I only have access to a handful of these weapons and only had enough resources to level up a few of them. But for all of the weapons I talk about in this video, I have calculated an approximation of their effectiveness. I'll try to indicate on screen when I'm talking about something I haven't used yet. In order to know what kind of stats we want to boost on him, we should first know what kind of damage we are dealing using him. Without his ultimate active, Razor's best combo is using his skill, 3 normal attacks, dash, 3 normal attacks, skill, and repeat. We only use 3 hits of Razor's normal attacks since his last hit comes out very slowly, and although it does a lot of damage, this delay to the last hit hurts our DPS more than it would to cut it short and just start another 3-hit combo. Using 2 3-hit combos takes about as long as the cooldown is for his skill. The cooldown for his skill is shortened during the first ascension to 5 seconds. We generally always want to use the press version of his skill over the charge version. This is because the cooldown is shorter. This makes the DPS higher and we gain more energy using the shorter cooldown. The only time we might want to use the charge version is if we want to damage an armored enemy that is weak to heavy attacks. We want to use the skill as much as possible because the skill does more base damage than a normal attack, it interrupts a combo making it faster, and we want Razor's ultimate to be charging as much as possible. The string does 776% physical damage and 279% electro damage when all of his talents are at level 6. These talents scale the same, meaning this damage ratio stays the same even for lower talent levels. As you can see, Razor without his ultimate does a lot of physical damage, and we will get a lot of mileage boosting his physical damage output whenever we can. When we use his ultimate, Razor's attack speed increases, and each of our attacks hits the enemy with an extra small electro attack. Because of the attack speed increase, it will no longer be so intrusive to use our last hit of our normal attack combos, and doing so will boost our DPS. This is because while our attack speed increases, the time it takes to attack after dashing, it doesn't change. So now, our combo while our ultimate is active is using our skill, a full normal attack combo, dash, another normal combo, and then our skill. While our ultimate is active, our combo does 963% physical damage and 547.8 electro damage at level 6 talents. It is notable that using the talent does some electro damage itself, and after the first ascension, using the ultimate also resets Razor's skill's cooldown. The ultimate lasts for about 3 of these combos. Depending on the talent skill, his normal attack speed increases, and if we average the damage from an extra use of his skill and the ultimate damage over the 3 combos, the combo string we described earlier will have about 715.47% electro damage. Using the ultimate makes Razor's electro damage more significant, but having more physical damage will still improve our overall damage. For artifacts, the stats we want to go for are attack percent for the timepiece, physical damage for the goblet, and crit rate for the circlet. If you can't get your hands on a good physical damage or crit rate artifact, attack percent is also good. But physical damage and crit rate will be slightly better. Even if you only have a 4-star physical damage goblet, it will still be better than a 5-star attack percent goblet. If the emphasis on physical damage seems a little extreme, I want to point out that physical damage does not only improve our overall damage, but we can increase it even further by using Superconduct to increase the enemy's physical resistance. Razor is a perfect character to abuse Superconduct since he can also trigger it using his skill. As for artifact substats, crit rate, attack percent, crit damage, and flat damage in that order will be nice to have to give us a good damage boost. Energy recharge could be nice to have, but it is not as important as the damage stats since Razor's energy recharge is already manageable as long as he's on the field. As for artifact sets, the best one for Razor is the 4-piece Gladiator set. Razor relies a lot on his normal attacks to do damage, even during his ult, so this boost to his normal attack damage, along with the 18% attack boost, is huge. It is also a 5-star set, meaning that you can get high stats using this set. The 4-piece Thunder Soother set matches up surprisingly well with the Gladiator set, assuming that the enemy is always procced with Electro. It may be worthwhile to run this set over the Gladiators since you can farm it in a domain to get the best stats. You just have to make sure that you always have a way to constantly proc the enemies with Electro. Mixing the 2-piece Gladiator set with a 2-piece Bloodstained Chivalry set can help you imitate a 4-piece Gladiator set if you don't have good enough artifacts to complete your Gladiator set. If you are still early on in the game and don't have access to these artifact sets, the Berserker set can help you get a head start on abusing crit damage and is accessible without domain farming. If you don't think that you can keep yourself under 70% health consistently to activate the 4-piece Berserker set crit rate increase, you can try to mix the 2-piece Berserker set with a 2-piece set that gives you 18% attack, or go for the 4-piece Braveheart set or 4-piece Martial Artist set. That being said, finding artifact sets to boost your damage early on in the game is quite hard to come by since domain farming is not a good option for lower adventure ranks. So I recommend putting a little more emphasis on the artifact's main and substats over completing sets. As for weapons to put on Razor, we want to equip him with weapons that allow him to deal more damage. This means ignoring weapons that have substats that don't involve damage output for the most part. Otherwise, they're gonna need some bonus damage on their effect. For example, the Rain Slasher is a 4-star sword that gives us 20% more damage against opponents affected by Electro, which is perfect for Razor, but it has a low base attack stat and has Elemental Mastery as a substat. Elemental Mastery is a pretty awkward stat to rely on for Razor since during his ultimate it may be hard to trigger a specific reaction rather than just afflict the enemy with Electro, if that makes sense. If we ignore Elemental Mastery, the Rain Slasher is the weakest weapon of the ones I'm going to talk about in this video. Also, Superconduct is a weak elemental reaction to begin with, and it is most likely more useful to invest in damage rather than Elemental Mastery if Superconduct is your main reaction. If you got your hands on the Serpent Spine, it seems like a good weapon for Razor, increasing his damage by 6% every 4 seconds he's on the field, especially since we want Razor on the field for long periods of time. But if you take damage, one of these stacks will be removed, and 4 seconds is a long time to wait for another stack, but the effect doesn't reset if you switch. This weapon could be great if you find a way to consistently use the effect to its full potential. Now, let's talk about the Prototype Amethyst and the Snow Tome Star Silver, two great weapons for Razor that you can craft in the game. It is a tight race between them. The Amethyst does more damage in its effect, and the Star Silver has a physical damage bonus. In general, the Amethyst is stronger, but they are close when it comes to damage. This is when the enemy is not affected by Cryo. If you trigger the Snow Tome Star Silver's effect while the enemy is affected by Cryo, it does more damage by a comfortable margin. But doing so without accidentally doing a reaction first may be a little awkward, and I'm not sure if breaking your combat flow is worth proccing this effect. All of the 5-star weapons are really good and are straight up better than the 4-star weapons. If you have one, you're pretty lucky. The Unforged is probably the weakest 5-star weapon for Razor. The Skyward Pride is great for him. It has a high base attack stat and it procs strong extra hits. And the Wolf's Greystone with its attack boost is just amazing. But we all aren't so lucky. There are also a couple of 3-star weapons that are fine to use on Razor. Up until now, I've been talking about all the weapons at Refinement Rank 1 since it is hard to guarantee getting more than one copy of them. But I will be talking about the 3-star weapons at Refinement Rank 5 since they are so common in the gacha, it is likely you get these max refined fairly early on. The Skyrider Greatsword increases Razor's physical damage and increases his damage for each normal attack he lands by a small amount. This is a good 3-star, but the Debate Club is even better. After using his elemental skill, normal attacks deal an additional 120% attack damage in an AoE once every 3 seconds. The key to this is that the timer resets after each use of an elemental skill. If we use Razor's skill on cooldown, we should get 2 procs of this effect every 5 seconds. If that is not enough to convince you that the Debate Club is just a little better than the Prototype Amethyst, yes? What if I told you that these procs are affected by physical damage bonus? Yeah! I might be hyping up this weapon a little too much, but I just think it's cool that on on Razor, a 3-star weapon can keep up with the 4-star weapons. The Amethyst does become better than the Debate Club if you refine it at least once though. If we are talking about his talents, all of Razor's talents are important to his kit since we will generally be using all of them. But if you had to prioritize which talents to level up, leveling up his normal attack will improve our damage the most outside of his ultimate and even during his ultimate. The next best talent to level up might be his ultimate, and his skill is still a good thing to level up too since we want to use it on cooldown. Now, I will briefly cover what I think of Razor's Constellations. Razor's first constellation is great since it gives a considerable damage boost for collecting elemental particles, which, because he's on the field so often, it is likely he'll be the one gathering most of them. The second constellation is nice, but it is too situational to call worthwhile. Critting an enemy who is about to die anyway sounds unnecessary. The third constellation is a simple and good boost to his ultimate. The fourth constellation is great. We decrease the enemy's defense by 15% using an ability we want to use on cooldown. This should improve our total damage by about 8%, I think. This is not a constellation you have to sweat for to get, but if your Razor has a couple of constellations already, maybe you could shoot for this fourth constellation the next time Razor shows up on a banner. The fifth constellation is good, but I don't think it's important. I don't know much about the last constellation. It would be nice to have, like any other, but I don't think the damage it does is super important, and Razor's energy recharge is already manageable. In general, as a character meant to deal the bulk of the damage on your team, investing resources into him will boost your team's overall damage a lot. Consider prioritizing investing in Razor's weapons, artifacts, and talents if you plan on using him on your team. Leveling up his normal attack is the best, but leveling them all up is a good idea. In my opinion, Razor's fourth and first constellations seem the best, and it is up to you whether you want to go for them, but you could probably stop after that. Anyway guys, I hope this video helped you guys out. Comment down below if anything was confusing or if I missed anything. I plan on making a team comp guide for Razor very soon. If you guys are interested in more Genshin Impact videos, consider subscribing. I plan on making more guides like this one as well as the occasional compilation video. See you guys next time.